There is something going on in China, and it's something which is not pleasing. The anti-blackness in China is really getting out of hands. And some people might think that, oh, you keep on making negative videos about Asian community, but that's not the reality. No. In this video, you are actually going to be seeing a Chinese, maybe Chinese American, talking about why Chinese people, his own community, is so racist. There's been this trend called Natasha. Natasha is a doll that has been made in black, but initially it was made in other different colors. But since the anti-blackness started or intensified, they made it a black doll so that they can always beat it around. They can throw it. It means that it's a doll that is used to remove all the frustration. And you see that they chose the black doll to remove all the frustrations. So this shows you the perception that Chinese people has towards black people. Now, and this is just maybe a disclaimer that I like to give, and the disclaimer is that this video does not intend to show that all Chinese people think in this line. Not all Chinese people are racist, but we are addressing majority of what these people are doing and how they perceive black people. One thing that I like to say upfront is that there is so many miseducation. A lot of people have been miseducated about black people, and people are just learning about black people through TV screens or shows and what media portray black people to be. That gives them a perception of what black people are, which in reality, that's not the reality of what black people are. So brothers and sisters, all credits goes to Clays. Clays is the owner of this video, and I thought it's important for me to give him a shout out and also share what he really has to say in regards to this. So brothers and sisters, let's watch the video. I'll be back.
This doll right here is going to make Chinese people more racist against Africans than they already are. Let me explain. This is a Natasha, currently popular in China. As you can see what people are doing to it online, the whole black baby doll trend is to stretch the toy, hit it, to abuse it, and do whatever you want to it. It's gross, and it's especially unnerving to watch because there's a study by Christopher Barton titled Playthings, Children's Radicalized Mechanical Banks and Toys, which found that racism and class-based oppression are taught to children through various cultural media, including toys and games. So if you give these toys to impressionable Chinese children, and the whole point of this toy is to beat it, to choke it, to hit it, and not to treat it like a human being, it's very likely going to subconsciously influence what those children think about black people. But to understand how we got here, we have to understand how it even came about in the first place. Because it wasn't originally intended to be racist. It wasn't even a stress toy. This was actually started by a content creator known as Cai Dabo Sharis, and the context of that video is that he is over 30 years old, and he made a video about constantly being pressured by his parents to get married and have children. He then held up one of these dolls and told his mum, "I already have a child. This is my child. Her name is Natasha." Then when they were arguing over the doll, the mum threw it on the ground, which led to the creator screaming the name Natasha, which is where the TikTok sound everyone used came from. So initially, many people genuinely treated these dolls as their children, as a form of silent protest to society for pushing them to have kids. They gave them baths, dressed them up, put makeup on them, and pretty much just made cute videos. And it wasn't just black dolls, it was both black and white ones. But after this video of Natasha going viral, things started to go in a bad direction. Among the dressing up videos, videos of people abusing, throwing, and mistreating the doll emerged. Because of how deplorable they were, those videos got more views and more attention. And so as people chased traffic and engagement, more and more creators started buying black baby dolls just to make shock content. It's actually very controversial in China. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to undersell how problematic it is, but the mainstream public opinion is against this behavior in China as well, as most people believe that even if it's just a toy, it shouldn't be treated that way. Shortly after this trend being a thing, the social platforms have also said that they would strengthen moderation and ban this kind of content. And these days, if you search up Natasha on Douyin, China's version of TikTok, most of the videos you'll find are criticism videos, not support videos. But unfortunately, this is not the only racist trend against black people on social media. Earlier last year, there was a face filter on Douyin that essentially gave you an extreme version of blackface.
外国朋友 Mary 来我家做客。
So the audio was saying 我的外国朋友 Mary 来我家, which translates to my foreigner friend Mary came to my house. And essentially the point of the video is to film your Chinese friend and laugh because they suddenly turned into a black person. But it gets a lot worse, because go back to 2016 and this wasn't some teenager with a filter. It was an actual TV commercial. A detergent brand called Chobby ran an ad where a black man covered in paint flirts with a Chinese woman, and she responds by shoving a detergent pod in his mouth and stuffing him in the washing machine. He shrieks trying to escape and she sits on the lid. A few seconds later, a clean, fair-skinned Asian man pops out, and she's delighted. And so the literal message of the ad is that being black is a stain you should wash off. And then the most disturbing trend, because this is where it stops being about dolls, actors, and filters, and being real children. For years, up until 2022, there'd been a cottage industry where you pay a few dollars and get personalized videos of African kids, often filmed by Chinese vendors on the ground. It sounds harmless, right? Because, you know, even in the West, we can go on Cameo and there are services like this available. Until you find out this isn't that type of video. These were kids made to chant messages written in Chinese they couldn't even understand. And a chunk of those messages were straight up just racist, like really racist.
我是黑鬼，智商低，耶！我啥也不是，
我啥不是，
我就是大笨蛋。
我是大笨蛋。
And these Chinese vendors would also film themselves scaring the children there, forcing them to wash their feet, and giving them massages. A BBC investigation called Racism for Sale blew the whole thing open. I recommend you checking it out. So you go down the ladder, a filter, a detergent ad, and finally real kids. And the through line is always the same. Black people as a punchline. The Natasha doll didn't come out of nowhere. Racism against black people in China has been around for a long time.
感觉 Natasha 不搞笑，因为 Natasha 有点像种族歧视。其实，如果你们看见有人虐待黄色皮肤的小娃娃呢？如果你们在外网看到有很多人虐待黄色皮肤的小娃娃，因此为乐，而且还是很大规模的，你们会觉得搞笑吗？例如像这样。所以说，感觉这种娱乐化其实不是很搞笑。
But what I've found is that if there's one thing that's changed that's somewhat optimistic, it's that the older stuff often got more outrage from foreigners than from inside China, whereas the doll is getting genuine pushback from Chinese people themselves, which at least shows the country is moving in a more positive direction. However, despite the backlash from within, the effect of these trends is still really awful because these types of videos and trends ultimately lead to the dehumanization of black people in Chinese society.
你喜欢黑人吗？
不喜欢，
为什么？
黑人是坏人。
黑人为什么是坏人呢？黑人是我们的朋友，你懂不懂？
谁？
黑人是我们黄种人的朋友，懂不懂？
但是虽然也是有坏的，就像我们黄种人一样，每个人种都有好坏的。
And parents are starting to notice how harmful this trend really is on children and are having to re-educate them. Chinese state media, which acts as a mouthpiece for the government, even came out with a hit piece on this trend and urging parents not to buy these dolls for their children as it would distort their mental health and is highly disturbing. And this just goes back to the Christopher Barton research I mentioned earlier in the video. You have every right to feel angry. Now, even if it's a small minority, why does this sort of racism towards black people even happen? Typically, on the ground, you see racism in China more so directed towards Southeast Asians and other ethnic groups within China, as those are the types of people the Han Chinese would more often regularly interact with. For example, the most common reason why white Americans are racist towards black people is because at some point in their life, they state they had a negative experience with a member of the black community. No one is born a racist, like these are just the facts. So it's really strange to see that there are people in China who are so obsessed with black people, despite never having interacted with them before. Looking into this, I found 3 main reasons. But before we continue, a quick word from today's sponsor, Incogni. Now, someone I hate interacting with, but am forced to on a regular basis, are scam callers. Chances are they got your number from a data leak or data broker. Anytime you provide your name, phone number, even your social security number, that personal information can be scrapped, packaged, and sold to anyone who will pay for it. And if criminals get a hold of it, well, they can open credit card accounts in your name and even stalk you or harass you. Fortunately, today's video sponsor, Incogni, can help you. With your permission, they'll send out a letter to each broker using the correct legal terms and keep insisting until your data comes down. And remember, Even one unremoved profile can be enough for criminals to target you. If you sign up to Incogni's unlimited plan, you can even flag public websites where your information appears with their custom removal tools. Their data agents will take care of the rest. With the unlimited family plan, you can protect your whole family too. So keep your information safe. Head over to incogni.com/clays by clicking the link in the description. And when you do, be sure to use the code CLAYS for 60% off your annual subscription and 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you Incogni for sponsoring this video. Now back to where we left off. First, and this is true in basically every country, racism tends to track with ignorance. A big part of China is still undereducated in a very specific way. Look, don't get me wrong, the STEM side is genuinely world class. Their math and science education is, in my opinion, the best in the world. But the humanities and social sciences, a few top universities run fairly solid programs, but in most high schools and local colleges, this stuff is in the Stone Age. Empirical political science, sociology, human geography are either absent or barely touched. There's history, but the content is heavily filtered. A huge chunk of the textbook exists just to glorify the Communist Party of China. So you end up with students trained in everything except how to understand people and societies. And a lot of them don't just lack social sciences, they look down on it. You'll meet people who genuinely think political science is a pseudoscience because the data isn't as clean as a chemistry experiment. That's for a whole other video though. But the short version is, not holistically understanding how the human world works is always a big driver of racism. The second reason is money, specifically the borderline worship of it. China literally has a god of wealth, Taishan. Plenty of cultures have wealth deities, but I can't think of many that are this actively, broadly worshipped in everyday life. Buddhists, Taoists, paganists, even self-described atheists will all pay their respects to Taishan in some form. There is no family dinner or friend gathering in China where money doesn't come up. So naturally, race gets folded into that same value system. In China, they see white people have more money. Therefore, they must be a higher race. And that's exactly how it bleeds into attitudes towards black people. Race becomes a shortcut for guessing who's worth something and who isn't. A lot of the disrespect just comes down to not seeing a fat wallet. It's why Chinese crowds will still lose their mind when someone like Speed or Kanye or the NBA team shows up. Half the time, racism in China is just classism wearing a different mask. Speaking of Kanye, Chinese people love rap music, but when the majority of popular rap songs talk about committing crimes and glorifying degenerate behavior, and then you even have lyrics to YG's famous 2014 song, Meet the Flockers, being literally a step-by-step tutorial on how to rob Chinese neighborhoods, how do you think that makes Chinese people, who have never met a black person in their life, perceive them? Because I know, looking on Chinese social media, you have people questioning America's form of free speech, asking why tutorials on how to commit racial crimes against Chinese people is available, as long as it's in the form of a song. And even if it doesn't happen that often, these Chinese people who have their homes robbed, they still have family back in China. Aside from the police, who do you think is the first person they're going to call? Probably someone in their family in China. And then they will tell their friends, and those friends will tell their family, and so on. And the story of black people being a danger to the Chinese community spreads. And then the only other time Chinese see black people is on movies and TV shows, which historically speaking has not been greatly portrayed. And then the news, which, let's be real, it's the news, so chances are it's not going to be positive regardless of race. But the cases of Ma Yaopan and Michelle Gao, just to name a few, Chinese people in America killed by black people, was huge in China. And yes, I do want to acknowledge that hate crimes committed towards Asians in America are done primarily by white folk. However, according to the research papers, are black offenders disproportionately victimizing Asian Americans, and racial structural conditions and anti-Asian hate crimes, and is backed up by FBI's own statistics. Despite being 13% of the population, they commit almost 30% of all hate crimes against Asians in the United States. And so this is likely the reason why it's so sensationalized in the news. And to give you a better example, it kind of reminds me of how we treat sharks. You've probably heard before that cows kill more people than sharks. And that's true. Sharks kill around 5 people a year, whereas cows kill almost 5 times that amount. Sharks are actually very docile creatures. Additionally, humans aren't even in their diet. They aren't our predators. But because of the media like Jaws and Sharknado, which are just like massive pieces of anti-shark propaganda, we grow up believing that sharks are something to be feared. And that's just because most people haven't actually swam or let alone interacted with sharks before. Now, speaking as someone who actually has, because you can literally do it at the aquarium here in Australia, it's actually very chill. And going back to my initial point, China is a very isolated country in the sense that it's very race homogenous. Sure, there's a bunch of ethnic groups like Uyghurs, Dai, and Manchus, but 91.5% are Han Chinese. And according to the professor of Africa-China Studies, Adams Bottomore, there is only 500,000 black people living in China, with almost all residing in Guangzhou. That's around 0.035% of a population of 1.4 billion. So when most people in China haven't met an actual black person before and only know them via negative portrayals of media, it's only natural that they don't understand the average black person is not some street thug who wants to rob Chinese people's homes. But how are black people actually treated in China? Now, I could cite research papers and laws which say they are treated fine and that actual hate crimes is practically non-existent in China. But that wouldn't be actual lived experience of a black person, which is totally fair. And not to be that, but I have a black friend guy. But I do, and I actually went to China with him earlier this year. So I thought I'd get him on so he can share his experience.
Hey, I'm Ishmael. So yeah, I didn't really feel any hatred towards me by others when I was in China. Racism definitely still exists, but not in the same way like it does here in the West. Racial profiling exists, and hate crimes do, but in China, I didn't really feel that. I definitely did get a lot of people looking at me, and I mean a lot. Old people, young people, kids and their parents, nearly every second person would stop whatever they were doing just to look at me like they'd never seen a black person before. We were out one day on this road, I think Nanjing Road, and people would come up to me and ask to get photos with me like I was some kind of celebrity. And they would even ask, am I a basketball player? Is that stereotypical racism? I don't know. I think so. But I kind of felt safe. They weren't coming up to me and they weren't trying to hurt me or anything. They were just curious. This old lady even asked to feel my skin. Well, she asked, but she just felt my skin anyway. But again, I didn't feel like she was really being a hater. She was more curious, if anything. And I felt like everyone was more or less just curious. For some, it's their first time seeing someone like me in their town. And for others, you know, it's not something that they see every day. Aside from that, I always thought I was treated with respect. So you definitely don't get that here in the West.
And lastly, because it's so relevant right now, I want to talk about the Rick Chow case. Look, I'm Australian, so forgive me if I'm not fully caught up with everything that's happening there. And for starters, I just think having guns is like a crazy concept. But I know if I don't bring it up, there's going to be people in the comments asking for my take on it. So I had a look into the case, and this is what I think. And in case you're not also caught up to it, Rick Chow is a shop owner from Hong Kong. He shot and killed Cyrus Carmack Belton, a 14-year-old black kid. And the jury ruled it as self-defense because the kid also had a gun.
And then I see there's something in his hand, and he's starting to get up, and he points the gun over at me. I was terrified.
Terrified that what was going to happen?
That I would die.
And what did you do? Who did you yell to?
I yelled to my dad.
And what were you yelling to your dad?
He's got a gun. He's got a gun.
And your dad, wherever Feeney was, what was he yelling?
Drop it. Drop it. No.
And what was Cyrus doing?
Pointing the gun at me.
So, not guilty of murder. And now, black people across America are calling to boycott all Asian businesses.
About y'all, but I'm serious about this shit. I'm not spending another damn dime with them after what Rick Chow did to 14-year-old Cyrus.
Hey, y'all still supporting this business? Y'all still supporting Asian businesses after Cyrus? We boycotting all Asian, Vietnamese, and Korean businesses. Come on, black women. Y'all still getting y'all services? Y'all can't do press-ons? Y'all can't scrub y'all feet in the tub? We boycotting. Y'all ain't seeing on TikTok? Y'all still in here getting y'all services? The black dollar is powerful. They don't respect us. Shut up. Shut up.
Look, I think you should spend your money wherever and however you want. It's your money, and who am I to tell you how to spend it otherwise? And if you don't feel safe in an Asian business, that's totally fair to find an alternative. But calling for a boycott of all Asian businesses because of what one random dude from Hong Kong did is simply fighting racism with racism. And that is never the answer. Like, why are we regressing as a society and becoming more stupid? Why are we punishing a whole community of Asians just because of one person's action. And keep in mind, this is the exact same type of thinking racists have towards black people. For the longest time, we've been told that the right thing to do is to judge each person on an individual level. And I agree with that statement, but the response we're seeing right now towards the ruling of the Rick Chow case goes directly against that.
Yeah, we about to take it a step further. Here's what we're doing. We're calling all of the Asian takeout places. We're placing a big ass, fat ass motherfucking order, and we're telling them we're gonna pay when we pick it up. And then what we're gonna do, we're never gonna fucking pick the shit up. I mean, I need 12 muga pans, 20 garlic chickens, I need 30 broccoli beefs, bitch. And we gonna leave that shit right there. Yeah, we gonna let them cook it, and we gonna leave that shit right there.
Yo, in respect for him, we're calling Chinese places, ordering food, and not picking it up. We ain't talking about no one order. We running it up. Justice for him, okay?
Call your local health department on your local Chinese restaurants daily, all day. Make as many complaints as you can. Let's have at it, y'all.
And now it's gone past a boycott. You have some people posting on TikTok actively making prank calls to innocent Asian businesses, making massive orders and then just never picking up the order, intentionally filing false reports to the Department of Health, and also just straight up vandalizing and looting Asian-owned stores. Like, this is just going to backfire. What Rick Chow did was disgusting and cruel, and feeling emotional about this case is totally justified, but blaming all Asians because of what one random Hong Kong dude did is just going to breed more racism and fuel this toxic cycle. Honestly, I think the prosecutors are the ones who did Cyrus dirty here. In my view, Rick Chow was at least guilty of manslaughter, but he never had to answer for manslaughter because the only charge that went to the jury was murder. And that's the whole problem. Murder requires intent. You have to have actually meant to kill. Manslaughter is when you unlawfully kill someone without that intent. Recklessly, in the heat of the moment, whatever. The defense leaned hard on the no intent angle, and part of what sold it was what Chow did after the shooting. He stayed at the scene and tried to save him. From the report that came out, the officer and the nurse who helped with CPR both said Chow was doing everything he could, even sucking vomit out of Cyrus's mouth and spitting it out, trying to keep the kid alive. So the jury looked into that, couldn't find the intent that murder needs, and since murder was the only thing on the table, they let him walk away completely. But here's my issue. If there had been a lesser charge on the table, manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, anything, I think he does time. Instead, it got run as a all or nothing murder, and once the jury wasn't sold on intent, there was no middle ground left for them to land on. That's on the state. So when it comes down to it, I just don't understand the point of retaliating against the entire Asian community over one person's actions and the flaw of the justice system. Rise up against the system, not the minorities being manipulated by it. Rest in peace, Cyrus. I'll leave a link to his GoFundMe below.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. As you know, I'm your host and presenter Engineering Stories. It is always a great time to come, learn, educate ourselves on the things that are really going on. Brothers and sisters, something that is really, maybe we can say unexpected, keeps on happening. And what seemed to, be normal to these people, because I'd say that they are miseducated. They don't have the true knowledge. They don't have the right knowledge about black people. And so what they're doing out of miseducation and being misguided about true black history and the nature of black people. We are seeing anti-blackness being a major concern in especially Asian countries like China. So brothers and sisters, while Claes was trying to address the anti-blackness in the Chinese community, right, I had people, especially people that are non-Chinese that have lived in China, including black people, majority of them, because they are the subject matter of this topic. So somebody said that as a black person who grew up around Chinese people, it makes me really disappointed to see how we are being dehumanized at a huge scale with this toy. I have a family member who are half Thai and their own mom was racist to them. It's kind of exhausting. I'm still going to apply for graduation in Taiwan, but like, dude, can we just get a break, please? It's really crazy, right? Somebody said that imagine coming to an African country, to film their children in the most humanly degrading way possible. I even watched a video where a Chinese guy was trying to cover a black baby face with a pillow. The most infuriating part of the whole thing is that he was even laughing about it like it was nothing. Humiliating another human for a few bucks is really, really sickening. These guys are sick in the head. Somebody say that judging and hating another human just because of how they look is inherently so stupid. Skin pigmentation or lack of zero influence on anything about human, and that is just scientific fact. That is just a scientific fact, right? Okay, somebody say that I'm in therapy for the racism I've faced growing up around Asians. Imagine. Asian community, that's East, South, Southwest, all have deep hatred towards black people for no good reason. A small percentage of them have bad experiences and generalize all black people. The rest simply live in culture that hates dark skin. I have been dehumanized by Asians more than white people. And again, to the point of needing therapy. That's really crazy. That's really messed up. And I don't think that it should be that way. It is really, really dehumanizing. It is really, really degrading. It is really, really disappointing to learn something like that. Somebody say that as a black person, it is so sad and annoying to see so many people who are comfortable being racist to us. Black people have not done anything to add any race of persons globally. We just exist. All races and ethnic groups have good and bad people. The black people that commit crime are just bad people. Their race doesn't cause them to be bad. Can people just leave us alone? That's all black people are trying to ask. Can people just leave black people alone? Right? That's what they are, asking. Okay, somebody said, very nuanced video. Although, I feel like you've left some stuff out of the case of the 14-year-old child that got, such as him being shot in the back. First, staying and trying to keep the victim alive after the shooting. No intent, it shows some type of regret. 2, the 14-year-old was racially profiled inside the store. 3, the 14-year-old walked out of the store, then started running when 2 adult Chinese men started chasing him. They chased him multiple yards, and he was shot in the back. It's really crazy. It's really, really crazy. People are sharing, people are opening up, and people are talking about this. Now, somebody came and said that the first ever racist person I met was a Chinese man on Hello Talk, a language starting up with the format kind of similar to Omegle, where you can talk to people from around the world. Let me tell you, the experience was painful. The mindset is insane, and it literally made me, an 18-year-old at the time, by the way, raged. I had to hold back my curses. It started as joking about black people, which confused me at first. But then I literally dropped the N-word multiple times. I, of course, got frightened and tried to explain to him how it is so bad. He can just do that because why? In the end, he argued with me that, and I quote, there is no black people in Asia. And in the end, I left. I visibly shaken. I have never, even to this day, met such an arrogant and outright evil individual. And that's just so sad, because many Chinese people I know are genuinely really nice. Right? This is the last comment that I'm going to be reading. I currently live in China. I've been here for 5 years straight, and I'm African. I've had comments from kids saying, why are you black? And parents quickly dragging their kids away from me, saying, I'm ugly. Some even crying when they see me. Parents blocking their noses, saying, I stink because I'm black, based on stereotypes, on the facts that I wear perfume, which is not strong, by the way. People asking if I have water in my country because I'm so black. They're assuming it's because I don't bathe. People refusing to sit near me in metros or touching anything I've touched. If I end up touching them or bumping into them in metros, they will sanitize their wipe themselves repeatedly. They don't so for the same other races. People spitting next to me after sitting me. I could go on and on. Trust me, they're racist. The darker you are, the more racist they are. So colorism is a big issue here. Obviously, there are a few exemptions, especially the younger generations in their 20s are a bit more accepting. But overall, they are racist to a point where it gets depressing over time. Obviously, China is a great country. However, socially, they still need for growth and acceptance. I've heard these complaints, but let me just bring something. Where did COVID come from? Exactly. Think about it. When you do like this, when you see a black person, you're talking about hygiene, right? But let's just dig and go back to history and look at things. When did this started? COVID-19. Why did it started? From China. So let me know what you all think about this. As you know, I'm your host and present hygienic stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.